Sa akong mga listeners diya, sa akong mga supporters, salamat sa pagsubaybay. This is the part of me where I feel more comfortable of sharing my life and a little bit about myself. So before I begin, I want to say something important, and that is I only share parts of my life once a chapter is closed. So once I analyze it, once I understood it and accepted it and surrendered it, I can show it. So what I am sharing today is not something I am currently inside of. It's something I already lived through. And that is because I do not believe in bleeding in public. I believe in sharing meaning. And this video exists because I finally understand something that shaped me quietly. Ito ha, sa hinaba-haba ng panahon, pakiramdam ko, invisible ako. Alam mo yung feeling na unregistered? Ganon. Yeah, unregistered. So for example, my skills felt unseen. My presence felt easy to overlook. Yung parang lagi lang akong nasa gilid ng kwarto, nasa sulok ng mga konversasyon, nasa sulok ng bahay. And I didn't even care to blame the world because deep inside I felt I don't matter. And that was happening until one day I faced myself at tinanong ko yung sarili ko sa isang katanungan na matagal ko nang iniiwasan. And that is, why am I feeling this? And why does this feeling so familiar? Yeah. I'm nervous to share, but I'm not scared. I was adopted, okay? Ang adoption kasi, kahit loving yung family na kinalakihan ko ha, kahit may pagmamahal, adoption still creates an early rupture to every children. So for example, a child doesn't ask, was this right or wrong? Instead, a child asks, in the body, am I allowed to be here? And that question doesn't always become words. It becomes posture, it becomes your silence. And I learned early how to adapt, how to be agreeable. Tango lang ako ng tango, okay lang, hindi ako nagde-decide. I learned how to not take up too much space, wherein I didn't disappear loudly. I disappeared politely. And that was the first place invisibility entered my life. May panahon sa buhay ko na hindi ko nakikita yung sarili ko. And hindi dahil galit ako, hindi dahil madrama lang ako noon, pero dahil unjustified yung pag-i-exist ko sa mundong ito. So I didn't express, I refused to speak, I refused to be part of, be involved, or be something at all. And underneath all of that was a quiet and heavy and deep question, why am I even here? Tough, right? In this part, I wanted to share some philosophy. Okay, we have one which is Heidegger. He has this term he called throwness. Okay, ano ba yung throwness? In Tagalog, throwness can be translated as basta ka na lang itinapon, parang bigla ka na lang ibinigay sa mundong ito. Tinutukoy nito ang pagdating mo sa mundong hindi mo pinili at pagkasilang sa mundong hindi mo naiintindihan. So meaning to say, no, hindi mo naman pinili ipinanganak dito, hindi mo naman pinili ang mga magulang mo, hindi mo pinili ang mga taong sinaktan ka, hindi mo pinili ang mga sugat mo, hindi mo pinili ang mundong bubungad sa'yo. Parang unfair, di ba? Bigla ka na lang nandito. And that felt violent to me. Imagine, you just find yourself here. So existence itself can feel absurd. That is why that felt violent to me. Because if I didn't choose to be here, then why was I expected to participate, to perform, to bring meaning, to speak, to want, and to become something? So I didn't express, I refused to speak. I refused to be involved and even to be something. And not because I had nothing inside of me. That is because the ground beneath me is not enough. I didn't feel grounded enough to appear. And that's what thrownness felt like in my body. Like arriving without land. Imagine if the Noah's Ark did not find the land. Just like that. But Noah's Ark found the land. So we are all here now. You know what? There's one thing about Heidegger too. Because there is a part that changed almost everything for me. Because Heidegger also says that we are not only thrown here, we are also care. And care doesn't mean affection, okay? It doesn't mean positivity. It means being invested in the fact that you exist at all. So ibig sabihin nun, yung katahimikan ko, hindi pala yun emptiness. Yung refusal ko to be part of anything, hindi pala yun katamaran. Yung invisibility ko, hindi pala yun kawalan ng pake. It was care, trying to protect me. I realized that I didn't reject life. I rejected the unexamined life. That is why I refused to participate in an existence I didn't understand yet. What happened is I waited and observed, analyzed things. I tried to make sense before I spoke. But you know what? That wasn't failure. It sounds like it's a failure, but that wasn't a failure. That was survival, shaped by my own wisdom. And healing didn't come from erasing my past. It came from appropriating it, transforming through it. Not asking anymore, why am I here? Rather saying, since I am here, how will I stand now? Diba? Ngayong andito na ako, paano ako tatayo? Paano ko bubuhatin yung sarili ko? Yes, I didn't choose my arrival, but I am choosing my presence. And you can choose your presence too. And that's why I can talk about this now, because I am no longer inside the confusion, you know. I am standing in relation to it. Proud of myself. Proud of myself. But you know, this chapter is not closed because it didn't matter, but because it no longer owns me. That's why I can finally say that chapter is closed. Now let's talk about when survival becomes your identity. I think this is very common to anybody. And here's what I understand now. What begins as survival can harden into identity. That's what they say. So what happened to me is I wasn't invisible to others. I was invisible to myself. Okay? So may answer tayo na philosopher dyan is si John Paul Sartre, kung saan binansagan niya yung salitang bad faith. And this is not lying to others, okay? Ito yung bad faith na term niya, ito yung katahimikan mo. Katahimikan mo, ang mahusay na pagsisinungaling mo para ka lang manatili sa lugar na akala mo ay safe ka. Ano yun? Ano halimbawa nun, okay? So for example, to me, I told myself no one believes in me. But deeply, the deeper truth was I didn't believe I was allowed to appear. And that is why I stayed quiet, I stayed small, and I postponed my dreams. Because it's not because I didn't have dreams, it's because it felt dangerous to me, you know? I remember one time I was asked what was my favorite color, and I couldn't answer because I genuinely do not care. And I also do not know. Imagine wanting and liking weren't my thing. I didn't want things, and I didn't like things. I didn't even want to be here in the first place. So why was I being asked that question? That was my mindset before. Ang sama, diba? Sama. Crazy. Okay, so ngayon naman, let's talk about self-recognition, because I think self-recognition is also important. Because closing didn't arrive as confidence to me, okay? It arrives as a question. And that question is, where did I learn to disappear? Where am I still doing this to myself? Yung mga katanungan na yun. And that realization didn't shame me, by the way. It gave me my agency back. Okay? I wasn't ignored. I was introducing myself to life. I was asking the world to see a version of me that I hadn't fully claimed yet. So closing was not about finding joy. It was about consenting myself into existence. Okay? Tiny bits of consent, daily consent, speaking one sentence, wanting one thing, creating one thing without asking permission. Those are my small steps. I said this before and I'll say it again. Aristotle says we become by doing. I didn't wait to feel real. I practiced being real. Yeah. Now, this part is my favorite because we are going to talk about plasticity. Plasticity, yeah. Ito yung philosophy ni Catherine Malabou. I already talked about her from my previous vlog. If you have been following me, you must have heard about her. What is plasticity? Plasticity is the ability to be shaped by rupture without being destroyed by it. Ibig sabihin, kayang mabago ng pagsabog ang isang tao nang hindi tuluyang nasisira. Nasira ba ako? Pagkatapos na lahat ng daanan ko, dito pa ako. Sa akin, sa buhay ko, adoption was a rupture. Invisibility was a rupture. Pero hindi porket may rupture, sira ka na. Diba? Minsan, ibig sabihin lang nun, patuloy ka pang nagiging sarili mo. Okay, you are still becoming. And the moment na tumigil ako sa pag-usisa ng aking history, okay, to simply, so that I can justify myself, to simply hide myself, what happened is that I started treating it as a source of death. That is when I stopped disappearing. I finally arrived. I'm finally here. And I'm happy I get to do this now. Imagine if I did not transform, I will not be in front of the camera because I didn't want this. No. So I want to wrap this up by saying that I am not sharing this to be understood. Okay, you do not need to understand me. I am sharing it because I understand it now. So maybe if you recognize yourself in this situation, I'm gonna tell you that I am not here to fix you. I'm not here to pull you out of anything either. I'm just here to show you what it looks like when someone survives a chapter and can finally look back without collapsing. Imagine me, I can finally talk about it now freely. Maybe wala naman talaga nag-i-ignore sa'yo and you learn invisibility early. And now you're learning presence, okay? Just like how I went through it. And I would say, that is your closing. I hope this topic is interesting to you. And tell me about how you can translate and use those philosophies we discussed in this vlog into your life. Tell me how you can incorporate that into your life. Because what I like about philosophy is that it is a questioning of everything. And therefore you can use all the questioning into your life and apply that. That is why I always use it. It's easier for me to understand what I am going through and, my possible best steps. Anyway, thank you for watching. This is Dawn Angela, and till next time.